Tonight, Hurricane Ernesto barreling towards Bermuda after battering Puerto Rico. Torrential rains and destructive winds blasting the U.S. territory. Cars swept away in floodwaters and trees ripped from their roots. Electricity knocked out for nearly half the island. The race to get the vulnerable power grid back up and running. And the leader of Bermuda joins top story as Ernesto sets its sights on British territory. Also tonight, Trump's mixed message. The former president in battleground North Carolina painting a bleak picture of the U.S. economy, blaming his Democratic rival, but then not stopping there, firing off personal insults despite calls from within his party to focus on policy and not name-calling. Is his campaign's approach on the issues sticking with voters? Our Dasha Burns breaking down the latest. Abduction close calls. The terrifying kidnapping attempts just miles apart. Troubling video as a suspect tries to lure a child into a car. One parent describes the horrifying encounter. And we speak with the kids who were nearly taken, what the suspect said to try to snatch them right off the street. Disney lawsuit outrage. The company arguing a man cannot sue over his wife's death because he had a Disney Plus subscription. The stunning legal battle hinging on an agreement when he signed up for the streaming service. Does their claim have any merit? We ask our legal experts. Meth-laced candy? A New Zealand charity unknowingly handing out potentially lethal sweets. What we know tonight about the alarming mix-up. Plus, the heartwarming soldier surprise. Two sisters getting the shock of a lifetime from their dad just returning from his 9-month deployment. Their emotional reunion and the hug they've waited months. Finally a reality. And the positive economic report, the big shift for inflation and what it means for your wallet. Top story starts right now. And good evening, I'm Morgan Chesky in for Tom Llamas. Tonight, Ernesto is now officially a hurricane, churning in the Atlantic after slamming Puerto Rico and plunging that island into darkness. The storm is barreling into the U.S. territory, packing damaging winds and heavy downpours, flash floods wiping out streets and cutting off communities. This new video of a dam just outside of San Juan gushing as floodwaters push the vital infrastructure to the brink. But it's the island's power grid taking the brunt of the storm. Trees toppling power lines, snapping many right in half. As we've reported, Puerto Rico's main power company has struggled to maintain the grid since Hurricane Maria slammed the island back in 2017. And at this hour, more than 700,000 customers are in the dark. That accounts for nearly half of the island. But Puerto Rico isn't the only place hit by Ernesto. In St. Martin, a group of sailors had to be rescued from their stranded ship after it was caught in rough waters. Residents of Tortola in the British Virgin Islands met with torrential rains and violent wind gusts. Right now, the storm's expected to strengthen as it spins in the Atlantic before setting its sights on Bermuda. Meteorologist Angie Lassman is standing by with the track and the timing. And though Ernesto won't directly impact the U.S. mainland, it could affect your beach weekend. Those along the East Coast should be aware of life-threatening rip currents and strong surf. In just a moment, we'll speak with the leader of Bermuda as the island begins hurricane preparations. But first, we start with Venegas in hard-hit Puerto Rico.
Tonight, massive power outages and dangerous conditions caused by Hurricane Ernesto. Heavy rains have caused rivers to overflow their banks. Officials say rescuers are searching for the driver of this vehicle that swept away. Flooding conditions forcing a shutdown of roads and bridges.
Stay away from the coastal areas. Stay safe at home or wherever you are staying in the case of tourists.
The storm also causing havoc on Puerto Rico's vulnerable power grid, still recovering from previous storms. More than 700,000 customers, nearly half the island, left without power.
Estamos en la calle.
Luma Energy assuring they are on the ground, working to reestablish service as fast as possible with more than 1,500 technicians assessing the damage. Yet no indication of how long the outages will last. Those who can now relying on backup generators, wondering when the power will be restored. Tonight, Puerto Rico grappling with the aftermath of yet another storm. Venegas, NBC News.
And for more on the storm's path and where it could impact next, NBC News meteorologist Angie Lassman joins us now. Angie, I know you've been tracking this one all day long. Who's in the crosshairs as of right now?
Hey, good evening, Morgan. The deal is we're going to be watching for Bermuda, but down the line, as we get into later parts of Friday and early Saturday, we've still got some time where this system is going to sit over those really warm ocean waters and potentially gain some strength, becoming a Cat 2, maybe a Cat 3, before it nears the island of Bermuda. Right now, we've got winds at 75 miles per hour, a Category 1, but moving northwest at 16 miles per hour. You'll notice over the next 12 hours or maybe 24 hours that this will start to take more of a northerly component. The good news is it's moving away from the Caribbean. So we saw substantial rain across parts of Puerto Rico. That's going to start to wind down. We've already seen most of the flood alerts for folks there expire, but we will still need a little time to see some of those flooded roadways and such kind of recede. In the meantime, we're going to see the system work to the north, likely becoming a Cat 2, Cat 3 by the time we get into Friday. Now, late Friday into early Saturday is when we're expecting to tropical storm conditions and then eventually hurricane conditions for folks in Bermuda. You can see the hurricane watch that is newly issued with that last update. We're going to see winds potentially up to 115 miles per hour. So the impacts for Bermuda are going to be those strong hurricane force winds as well as the additional rainfall. Where the center of that system is, that's still to be determined. We've got some time until we kind of see how that shapes up. Then we potentially could be looking at some impacts way down the line early next week for parts of eastern Canada, the coastal areas. That's something we'll watch as that system enters those northern Atlantic waters. For the United States, we do have the potential to see some high surf and some rip currents, so not great at the beach Thursday through Sunday, Morgan.
All right. Good advice, Angie. Thank you so much. And as Angie said, Hurricane Ernesto is set to hit Bermuda as we head towards the weekend. For more on what the island's doing to prepare, I'm joined now by Bermuda's Premier, David Burt. Premier Burt, thanks so much for joining Top Story tonight. Last time you and I crossed paths was when Hurricane Fiona sideswiped Bermuda 2 years ago. That felt like a pretty close call. Storm passed about 100 miles to the west, and yet we both recall how intense that storm was. I know winds neared about 100 miles an hour. Half of the island temporarily lost power, but damage was minimal. Now, unfortunately, Hurricane Ernesto does have the potential to strike much closer. So walk us through what you and your government are currently doing ahead of this storm.
Thank you, Morgan. It's good to talk to you again. What we are making sure to do is just our standard precautions, making sure that persons are securing their property, checking their property insurance, stocking up on essentials. But Bermuda is well drilled in hurricane preparation. The island comes together, and I have no doubt the Minister of National Security has convened the Emergency Measures Organization. They met today. They'll meet tomorrow with the latest watches that have been issued, and we will be prepared for this storm if it comes as close as predicted to come to the island.
Right. I know the track could still vary between now and when it could potentially arrive. So what is your biggest concern as of right now? And what are you telling residents specifically?
Well, I think our biggest concern, which we see with most of these storms, depending on where the track actually is the damage on things that are near and close to water. If it is a direct hit, we'll have more wind damage, but significantly water items happen where it comes to boats, where it comes to docks, where it comes to landing, et cetera. But we want to make sure we take care of the vulnerable. We're having people check on our seniors. We're making sure that any persons who may be unsheltered are made sure to be housed, and we want to make sure that everyone has a safe passage. Of course, we have tourists that are here on the island enjoying what has been a fantastic summer in Bermuda. And what I will say is that those tourists know that our hotels will take care of them if they are here. And as you know, Morgan, as you were here for a hotel the last time we had a storm, the next day we are back to work. Bermuda is well drilled. Our building codes are excellent. Our buildings withstand up to 150-mile-an-hour gusts, so we'll be ready and prepared for the storm if it does come.
In fact, you touched on what I was just going to ask you about, Premier, and that is the fact that you do have this building code in place. I was struck whenever Fiona sideswiped the island, the damage was so incredibly minimal. In fact, just several roofs were reported missing. I think one boat may have received some damage there. Walk us through the specifics of this code and what you personally witnessed, the impact it's had with past storms.
Well, from a storm that we had in the 1960s, we've upgraded our building code significantly because what we don't want is to have the type of damage. We recognize where we are as an island. We need to make sure that we have strong building codes. So all of our buildings are constructed of limestone and or concrete, thick stone roofs. As I said, the building codes do make sure they withstand up to 150-mile-an-hour gusts. So it is very rare to see structural damage from buildings. What you will see in case there's tornadoes that may spin out of the storm and others, you will see some roofs that may come off depending on how direct and hits, and then there'll be other things insofar as foliage and otherwise. But it does help to limit the island's economic losses and life compared to other countries due to our very strong building codes that we have here in place.
An island nation that knows all too well the power of hurricanes, and yet you appeared to be incredibly prepared. Premier Burt, thank you so much for making time for Top Story. Wishing you and your family, your island well. Keep that swizzle close by. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Morgan.
Moving now to politics, and former President Donald Trump's rally today in Asheville, North Carolina. The campaign event comes as there have been questions about his messaging and whether his attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden, who's no longer running, are distracting from policy. I want to turn now to Dasha Burns, who was there today. Dasha, former president, has been encouraged to speak more about policy, and he did address an important issue for voters, the economy, with the inflation report coming out today. I do want to take a listen to some of those remarks.
Does anyone here feel richer under Kamala Harris than Crooked Joe, than you were during the Trump administration? Is anything less expensive under Kamala Harris and Crooked Joe? Vote Trump and your incomes will soar, your savings will grow, young people will be able to afford a home, and we will bring back the American dream bigger, better, and stronger.
Hearing him go policy over the personal attack wise there, I'm curious, how did the crowd respond? And do you think that Trump's team feels the message landed there?
Well, look, Morgan, the crowd responded in the way that they do at most of these events. It was enthusiastic, it was warm, it was receptive. Turns out they are receptive to a more policy-focused message as well, and that was really the point of today. I won't say he necessarily stuck to the script. That's just not the Trump way, but he did adhere to some aspects of the script. He did get through the script with some, improvisations and asides and interjected in there, and the crowd was especially receptive of policy proposals like no taxes on tips, like no taxes on Social Security, some of his energy proposals, bringing more energy production back to the United States. He also criticized Harris's economic plan, which we are expecting to learn more about in the coming days. But he was really trying to tie Harris to President Biden, knowing that a lot of Americans have been frustrated with the economy under this administration, and trying to make sure that people see Harris and Biden as one and the same.
Dasha, many of Trump's allies are calling for him to pivot away from the attacks on Vice President Harris. This week, even his former advisor, Kellyanne Conway, tried to give him some advice in a Fox News interview. Here's how that went.
The winning formula for President Trump is very plain to see. It's fewer insults, more insights, and that policy contrast. So if President Trump would just contrast the policies, he'll win.
And in light of what you just said, do you think his team at the rally today was in turn kind of responding to this a little bit?
Well, look, I think his team has been trying to push the message of a policy contrast between, at first, President Biden when he was at the top of the ticket, and now Harris. Trump will be Trump, and his team knows that. There's no controlling him. There's no, forcing him to say any one thing or another. And it's a double-edged sword when you talk to his team. They say, look, Trump is the secret sauce. Because he is the way he is, that's why he's been successful. But at the same time, trying to wrangle some of the more outlandish aspects of his personality and of how he talks about these issues is a challenge for his team. So they have to deal with both, the pros and cons of how Trump conducts himself in interviews on stages like this one here, Morgan.
Well said. And speaking of the former president, we know he didn't hold back his punches entirely. We have just a few of the jabs and hooks he threw earlier today.
Everything Kamala Harris touches turns bad. It all turns bad. She had a lack of skill, and people didn't like her, and now she's running for president. What happened to her laugh? I haven't heard that laugh in about a week. That's why they keep her off the stage. That's why she's disappeared. That's the laugh of a crazy person. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. Go. Get out of here. She's not smart. She's not intelligent.
So some lines of attack we've absolutely heard before, and we know the former president also criticized for focusing more, it seems, on President Biden than Kamala Harris. Does it appear that he's trying to get back on track with a clear message and strategy despite what we just listened to?
Well, look, Morgan, you won't be surprised that those remarks that you played there mostly were not in the prepared speech remarks that we received before he started. That's the Trump ad-libbing there. He kind of can't help himself with things like that. But he did talk about in this speech that, you know, he spent millions, his campaign spent millions and millions of dollars on going after President Biden, on creating a strategy to tackle that opponent. And now he's not at the top of the ticket anymore. So you have seen this sort of real live recalibration of the campaign to try to figure out what is the best line of attack against Harris. And that's why you've seen kind of a broad spectrum of attacks right now. The economy, of course, today, really the focus, as they know that his polling numbers are much better on the economy compared to first President Biden and now Vice President Kamala Harris. Morgan.
All right, Dasha Burns, thanks so much. I'm going to bring in now Chief NBC News analyst of the 2024 presidential race, Chuck Todd. Chuck, you've been critical here of the former president's performance at his rallies since Biden dropped out. What did you think of his performance today, going after Harris and her handling of the issue of the economy here?
Well, Morgan, look, I think his staff tried to get him focused on it, but at that same rally, he said, you know, they tell me the economy is the issue. I need is the number one issue. I'm not sure I agree with them. So he was almost contradicting sort of the point. This is obviously something Trump does all the time. He'll sometimes say everything he's thinking in the moment. And it was one of those times. Look, Morgan, when you pull back here a little bit, the one successful presidential campaign he had, he was the outsider and the insurgent. As an incumbent, he really struggled. He struggled sort of being the voice of government during the pandemic. He wanted to, you know, contrast what the experts were saying, but he was, and he struggled with that. He was not the insurgent. Against Biden, he was the insurgent again. That's why he felt comfortable. It was sort of the one gear, the one way he knows how to campaign, and you can feel it. Now, all of a sudden, with Harris, he looks like the incumbent. He's the one that has been president. She hasn't. And there is a group of voters that right now all look at her and say, hey, I'm willing to give her a chance. Now, is it give her a chance over the next couple of weeks, or is it give her a chance come Election Day? Obviously, we're going to wait and see. But that's the problem Trump finds himself in. And I don't know. He never figured out how to be an incumbent and run well as sort of in his style in the 2020 race. And we may be seeing that same problem for him in this race.
Yeah, the dynamic shift is pretty stunning there, Chuck. You do have a new article on NBCnews.com titled Republicans Are Stuck with Trump's Obsessions. In it, you write, in talking with folks who know him well, it's clear he can get over losing to Biden in 2020. His only personal hope of moving past the Biden defeat in 2020 was to defeat him in 2024. Now, Biden's denied him that opportunity. So while today he was more focused on Harris overall, he has been going after Biden more than his actual opponent, Vice Presidential Harris. How detrimental could this be to his campaign if it continues?
Well, it just keeps him unfocused, and it keeps him off. And it really, you know, any day he's not spending trying to define her. You know, in this early part of any rollout, whether it's a running mate or a new candidate, in this case on top of the ticket, you know, there's sort of a finite amount of time to, quote, define sort of that, you know, I guess we live, let's call it a hot take society where people sort of get their hot take about somebody and then it sticks for a while. You only have a finite amount of time to sort of impact that sort of singular stickiness that the way that our sort of society reacts to a candidate these days. And if he's still beating up Biden, it almost reinforces the decision the Democrats made. And I think that's why you've seen her favorable ratings go up. I mean, she's more popular today than she was as the sitting vice president. She's still the same person, but suddenly she's being viewed as something new and different. And I think that's just thrown him off his game, and he's just more comfortable. And again, look, I don't want to get in the whole putting him on the couch. I know some people do that. But the fact of the matter is, Morgan, he can't get over losing to Biden, and that's still his obsession.
Chuck, to a close here, we know Harris closing the gap in polling when it comes to swing states, and there's some new polling out today from Florida. Trump only leads Harris by 5 percentage points. That's closer than other recent polls. Do you think the way Trump is currently campaigning is hurting or helping with those swing state voters that are so critical?
No, I think what you're really seeing is just a consolidation of the Democratic vote. Morgan, that's just Florida being Florida. All right. Republicans have about a 3 to 5 point advantage. So that's but if all things are equal, and that's where we really are right now, you know, there's no doubt Harris feels like she has a lot of momentum, but her momentum is she got wayward Democrats back into the coalition. She got the Biden hating Democrats back. Now the next competition is for that small slice of swing voters. And if you look at some of the polls that have party ID where the election day is going to be, this is still a coin flip race.
Coin flip race. If anyone can make sense of it, it is you, sir. Chuck Todd, thanks so much for doing Top Story tonight.
Thank you, sir.
And we do have a programming note this Monday. You can watch special coverage of the Democratic National Convention here on NBC News starting at 4 p.m. I want to turn now to the newly released documents by the State Department involving Hunter Biden's business dealings. These documents, obtained by the New York Times, revealing that the president's son sought help from the U.S. government on behalf of a Ukrainian gas company. Back in 2016, Hunter Biden made at least one request to the U.S. ambassador in Italy during the time his father was then vice president. For more details on this, Ken Delanian joins us now. Ken, kind of a wild story here. We know Hunter Biden has been embroiled in a series of legal troubles, especially when it comes to his business practices. So how significant would you say that this new report is?
It certainly adds a new layer of significance, Morgan, because, look, Hunter Biden's been criticized for allegedly trading on the Biden name. He was paid millions of dollars, $11 million over a 5-year period, working on behalf of Chinese and Ukrainian and Romanian business interests. And this is now the second instance that we're learning about. The first was a couple of weeks ago through court papers, where he has actually tried to do a favor for those business interests and petition the U.S. government while his father was vice president. Now, the White House says Joe Biden knew nothing about this. This is not illegal. There's no evidence of wrongdoing here, but it just doesn't look good. Ethics experts say this is not the kind of thing that a sitting vice president should allow his son working on behalf of foreign businesses trying to influence U.S. policy, Morgan.
Optics absolutely not ideal. Ken, could this potentially interfere with Hunter Biden's upcoming tax trial?
Well, it may be evidence in the trial because a few weeks ago, the prosecutors in that case filed court papers saying that they wanted to introduce evidence of his working on behalf of a Romanian business interest that was paying him and petitioning the U.S. government. So this may go along with that. That's a tax evasion trial. He was never charged with lobbying for a foreign entity without registering. Apparently, what he did here didn't rise to the level of lobbying, but nonetheless, it could be evidence in that trial, Morgan.
And Ken, if I understand the context correctly here, the Biden administration has had these documents for a while now. So what are people saying about the timing of this release coming after President Biden withdrew from the race?
Well, Republicans are, of course, saying it's suspicious, but the New York Times made clear in their reporting that this was a Freedom of Information Act request. And I know from personal experience, the State Department takes forever, years sometimes, to respond to those. The Times sued, and these are career government officials who are presiding over these requests, not political appointees. So it appears that this was just a coincidence that it came out at this moment. Nonetheless, pretty significant here that we're learning about it at this time, Morgan.
All right, Ken Delanian breaking it all down as always. Ken, thanks so much. I want to turn now to the latest on the war in the Middle East. Ceasefire negotiations set to begin tomorrow in Qatar. But as top U.S. officials head to the region, Hamas says they will not take part in this round of talks. All of this as global tensions continue to boil over. For more on this, I want to bring in Ellison Barber, who joins us tonight from Tel Aviv. Ellison, what's the latest we know about where these ceasefire talks currently stand?
I mean, look, Morgan, on paper, ceasefire talks are happening in Doha, Qatar tomorrow. We know that Israel has said they are going to send a team of negotiators to the region. We know that the U.S. has officials there, like CIA Director Burns. But what we don't know right now is exactly what the outcome might be.
And we actually aren't 100% clear on what, if any, involvement from Hamas will look like. So, look, since we saw that strike on the school-turned-shelter in Gaza City on Sunday, Hamas officials have been consistently telling NBC News they do not plan to attend these negotiations. As far as we know, that is still the case. They say they are not going to be there. They've said that as recently as today. And the thing they keep telling us is we don't think there is a need for any new rounds, given what has developed since that assassination of Ismail Haniyeh inside of Iran, and then also what happened this weekend in Gaza City. But the U.S. and the State Department often saying a bit of a different thing and a little bit of a different tone, right? We heard President Biden, you and I talked about this yesterday, taking a bit of a less optimistic tone, saying that it doesn't look good for these negotiations, but he is still hopeful some sort of deal can be reached. The State Department in briefings yesterday and again today, when they've been asked about whether or not Hamas is going to be there, they either sort of deflect on exactly what they know, sort of saying we have seen those statements as well, but then they say Qatar is dealing with whether or not Hamas is going to be there, and that they have told the United States, remember Qatar is one of 3 mediators involved in this, that Hamas is going to send some sort of representative or official to these talks. But again, what Hamas officials are telling NBC News and other outlets is that they are not going to be participating and they don't plan to be there. So there's going to be some sort of talks tomorrow. Exactly what will happen in that room, all of the players, it is something that seems like we just have to wait and see, because with this story, Morgan, we've seen for the last couple of weeks, things can change very quickly. But what NBC News has been told is that Hamas will not be there. Morgan?
And speaking of waiting and seeing, Ellison, we know a lot of anticipation. There could be a lot of anticipation Iran could launch a retaliatory attack on Israel after top Hezbollah and Hamas leaders were killed last month. Has any more evidence come to light about when or where this could take place?
Right, so Iran's proxies, Hezbollah, and their leader, Hassan Nasrallah, have pretty consistently said they do plan to carry out some sort of retribution for the assassination of one of Hezbollah's top commanders that happened inside of Beirut. But he's also said this waiting game, the uncertainty, is part of the punishment for Israel. He said they could carry out a strike on their own or do something with Iran. What Israeli officials have been telling NBC News pretty consistently is that they do expect Iran to retaliate, and they believe they will likely carry something out with some of their proxies like Hezbollah in the north, and that they believe it will be a multi-day event and bigger than the strikes they carried out back in April. But at the same time, again, so many buts and caveats to give you in this story. Reuters had a story yesterday citing 3 Iranian security officials who had told them that ultimately they were going to sort of wait and see what happened with this deal. They said if there was a ceasefire deal, there's a possibility maybe they wouldn't directly strike Israel. They said, though, to Reuters, if there is not a ceasefire agreement, then they would still plan to carry out direct retaliatory strikes on Israel. But they also said they may do that if they feel like Prime Minister Netanyahu is dragging his feet in these talks and negotiations. And they've seemed to indicate that they believe that's what's happening right now, particularly citing what's happened inside of Gaza to say they believe those are stall tactics and show that Netanyahu and Israel is not willing to negotiate in good faith. Morgan.
And that tension very much remaining in place. Ellison Barber, thank you so much. Still ahead tonight, the convicted murderer on the loose. The urgent search for an escaped inmate sentenced for fatally shooting a 1-year-old. The increased reward for information on the coordinated breakout. Plus, the close call abduction caught on camera. We're hearing from the kids who were nearly snatched off the street, what they're saying about the terrifying encounter. And a shocking legal battle. A man suing Disney after his wife died from an allergic reaction in its theme park. The company now arguing his Disney Plus subscription prevents him from taking legal action. We'll explain. And we're back now with a massive manhunt underway in North Carolina. Authorities there searching for 30-year-old Ramon Alston, an inmate currently serving a life sentence after being convicted in the killing of a 1-year-old girl back in 2015. Alston escaped custody on Tuesday while being transported to a doctor's appointment at the UNC Medical Center. For more on the ongoing search, Maggie Vespa joins us now from Chicago. Maggie, good evening. Authorities held a press conference earlier offering up a reward, and the sheriff revealed a personal connection to him. Take a listen.
Yeah. Morgan, that's right. I mean, it was a really stunning moment at that press conference in Orange County, North Carolina. First, authorities said they're offering up a $35,000 reward for information that leads to the capture of Ramon Alston, who, again, just for background here, is serving a life sentence for shooting and killing 1-year-old Malia Williams as she played outside on Christmas Day in 2015. So the sheriff walks through that, walks through the search, and then kind of pulls back the curtain and says, actually, he himself has known Alston since birth. Look at this.
I went to high school with his father. I went to all school with his father, first through. And I've known Ramon since he was born. He was a troubled child, and he's been involved in criminal activity since he was a juvenile. He's extremely cagey, he's extremely dangerous, and he has nothing to lose.
You can hear the choppers circling overhead in that video. Morgan, the sheriff also noted then investigators have been in touch with Alston's family, and he said, quote, cooperation has been varied. He didn't elaborate on that. I myself just got off the phone with one of his relatives, a woman who said she's related to him. She just declined to comment on what's happening, on the escape, and on the manhunt for Alston.
I can only imagine. And Maggie, investigators say they believe Alston's left that at least immediate area. Do we have any idea as to where this search goes from here?
You know, they only said that he's basically, they believe, gone north. And again, we have video of the search efforts here. It is massive. I mean, that's the word they keep using. We're talking about helicopters and aerial assets. They say they have canines on the ground. And basically what they said happened yesterday, and again, he went missing yesterday morning. He escaped yesterday morning, was they used canines and specialized ground crews to search close to 800 acres surrounding the area where he basically jumped out of that van that was headed to a hospital. They say a canine picked up his scent briefly. It led them to the hospital, and then they say the trail went cold. So they said today, and kind of over the next 24 hours, they're researching that same area, but also expanding their footprint because they say they were pretty thorough. They're asking people to keep a lookout, reminding them he escaped wearing a belly chain and handcuffs. So he should be easy to spot, Morgan.
We can only hope so. Maggie Vespa, thank you so much. And now to those shocking videos out of Texas showing children potentially in serious danger. One shows the suspect trying to lure a child into a car. We spoke to two of the boys and their mom about what they did right to ward off that attempted kidnapper. Valerie Castro with that report tonight.
Bro, he just tried to abduct us!
Jonathan and Zachary Skolnick were playing outside with friends when two cars pulled up to them in their North Dallas neighborhood.
There are these two random cars that they were just there. And when I saw my Zachary and his friends running, I was trying to figure out what was going on. Get your mom. I overhear the driver telling my friends to take a look at what's in the back of the car. So I hear this and I start running. But I make it to the door. Someone's trying to kidnap Jay!
All of a sudden I hear, Mom, Jonathan's being kidnapped. Jonathan's being kidnapped. And I didn't know if they were joking or if he was being put into a car.
The terrifying ordeal confirmed by police and captured on cameras surrounding the Skolnick home.
When I was walking, they said there's a poop bubble in the back. Get in the car and go see him. And I said, no, I don't talk to strangers. And then when I tried to walk away, they backed up the car.
Ring video shows a white SUV backing up and a suspect chasing after Jonathan before turning back, giving their mom just enough time to snap a photo of the license plate.
I just thought, if the boys are joking, I have them on video joking. If they're not joking, I have a picture of the license plate that might have Jonathan, so we'll be able to find him. The police are not taking this lightly.
Just hours earlier, another terrifying encounter 2.5 miles away. A teen seen on camera hiding in Shane Burke's driveway.
She was definitely traumatized.
Burke was working from home when the teen showed up at his door.
She initially went and hid behind our car to see if he was going to come back, and sure enough, here he came, really slow.
The girl told him she was walking to a local high school when she noticed a stranger driving by several times. Burke's home surveillance cameras captured the driver staring.
She said she didn't know him. It wasn't like an ex-boyfriend or a family member or anything. And so whatever it was, it doesn't seem good. This was serious. You know, this was a close call.
Police are still searching for suspects in the two incidents that they do not believe are connected.
I worried for so long about breaking their spirit by telling them that there are certain people in the world. But thank God we did.
This is the first week of the school year in Dallas, as it is for many other communities around the country. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children says the greatest risk for child abduction is in the hours right before and right after the school day, as children are walking and riding their bikes. As the kids in these videos did, some of the most helpful tips are to avoid strangers or run away, or threaten to use a cell phone to call for help if there are no adults nearby. Back to you.
All right, glad those kids are okay tonight. Valerie, thank you. And coming up, the lethal sweets in disguise. A charity admitting it accidentally handed out meth-laced candies. Well, we're learning about that startling incident. And the new findings about the iconic Stonehenge site. This discovery revealing where the main structure came from, further expanding its mysterious roots. Stick around. We are back with Top Stories newsfeed, and we begin with a U.S. citizen being detained in Russia. A Telegram channel monitoring Moscow's courts releasing this video of Joseph Tater, who was found guilty of the equivalent of disorderly conduct in Russia. Authorities say he refused to provide an ID and attacked a police officer. He has been sentenced to 15 days in a Russian prison. Nassau County on New York's Long Island imposing the first bill in the entire United States that bans face coverings in public. County Executive Bruce Blakeman calls the ban a response to anti-Semitic incidents perpetrated by those in masks, referencing alleged incidents during protests against the Israel-Hamas war. Those who violate the ban without a health or religious exemption could face up to a year in jail and a $1,000 fine. Opponents of the bill argues it poses a risk for those who want to peacefully protest while also concealing their identity. And as solar flares continue to produce northern lights across North America, a NASA astronaut capturing a stunning view of the phenomenon from space. Take a look. Matthew Dominic recording this time lapse of streams of red and green lighting up the Earth's surface, the moon setting right behind it. Incredible. According to NASA, the northern lights are caused by explosions of energy as charged particles from the sun interact with Earth's own magnetic field. Turning now to Money Talks. What consumers and investors need to know from the business world and beyond. Well, tonight, it is a sign of some good news. Inflation now dipping at its lowest level in more than 3 years, believe it or not. And Christine Romans breaks it all down.
Tonight, a big sign that help for inflation-weary consumers is on the way.
Has the U.S. beat inflation, Mr. President?
Yes. I told you we're going to have a soft landing. We're going to have a soft landing.
President Biden touting the new numbers out today showing that for the first time since March 2021, inflation has dropped below 3%. Consumer prices rose just 2.9% compared to last year. Inflation clearly retreating from the peak of just over 9% 2 years ago. And prices for airfares, used cars, and apparel are falling. And inflation at the grocery store has improved dramatically. But weary Americans like Jennifer Bryant from Arkansas say they still aren't feeling it.
I haven't noticed that.
That's because falling inflation does not mean falling prices. Grocery prices still up more than 20% over 4 years. Housing up 22%. Home insurance up nearly 15%. Auto insurance rates up 50% from 2020.
All of my bills, insurance for the home, the car, everything has gone up this year.
It's hard to know when the public's mood improves. Wages, after all, have been rising faster than inflation for 17 months now. So now all eyes are on the Federal Reserve.
We think the economy is doing okay. We don't see us going into a recession right now, and we do see the Fed starting to lower rates in September.
Cooling inflation means the Fed may start cutting interest rates, taking more pressure off family budgets.
I really think we all deserve a break, and hopefully we can reap the benefits of that.
And Christine Romans joins us now from Top Story Studio in New York. Christine, it's looking a lot like mortgage rates are now dropping to the lowest they've been in a year.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And what's so interesting is that's already spurring refinancing activity. Applications to refinance last week jumped 35%. They're double from a year ago. So those lower mortgage rates are already starting to get a little action going on in the refinancing market, meaning that people might be able to get a little more money back into their budget. So when the Fed begins to really start cutting interest rates, the hope is mortgage rates and all other kinds of borrowing costs will start to fall, and you'll have real relief for some family budgets heading into the end of the year, Morgan.
All right, Christine, thank you. Now to a headline-grabbing legal battle involving Disney and the husband of a woman who claims she died from an allergic reaction at a restaurant and its theme park. Company now arguing that Jeffrey Piccolo cannot sue over his wife's death because of the terms he signed when he subscribed to a trial of Disney+. Disney did not respond to NBC News' request for comment this evening. Do want to bring in NBC News legal analyst Angela Cinedella. Angela, obviously this headline is striking. Disney would want to prevent a husband of a woman who died at their resort from having legal standing because he subscribed to their Disney Plus streaming service. I even want to read a little bit from the motion by Disney here. It says, before Piccolo relied upon any representations or dined at Raglan Road, he created a Disney account. In doing so, he agreed to the Disney terms, which include a binding arbitration clause applying to, quote, all disputes, including those involving the Walt Disney Company or its affiliates. What do you make of this legal argument by Disney here that's now public?
Look, Morgan, so to a reasonable consumer, this just looks totally unconscionable, and that'll matter to a judge because this agreement was made between a consumer and a business. It wasn't made between two businesses with extensive lawyers. But that said, look, I did read the subscription agreement. I did read all of it, and it does actually include those terms. So as a default, it's important to know that anytime a consumer does click accept and look at those check boxes on any agreement when you're signing up, that you are actually agreeing to those terms. Now, I also think what is in Disney's favor here is that agreeing to arbitration is not necessarily giving up your rights. According to the law, the form of arbitration is really just an alternate form of dispute resolution. It is not considered to be biased or unfair. So I think it is unconscionable, and I think the judge will consider that. But I also do think Disney actually has a reasonable argument here.
Interesting. So, Angela, as a lawyer, do you ever tell your client that the negative PR is not worth whatever monetary value a suit may cost? I mean, this is a suit for $50,000 here.
Yes, absolutely. And I am actually sure that PR is part of their strategy. It's just not clear from this moment, because if you do look ahead, let's say that they did try to settle, and let's say that the defendant didn't want to settle, they want a jury trial. Well, in that case, it is important to Disney to move to arbitration. First of all, because in arbitration, all proceedings are private. In a lawsuit, a jury trial, all of it is public. It also could go to appeal, so it could continue on for years. Also, I will say it's not just $50,000, even though that's what it looks like on its face. So when you go in front of a jury trial and you were a very sympathetic plaintiff, like in this case, it's a widower whose wife passed away from an allergy, then you could possibly get millions in punitive damages, Morgan.
So, Angela, what are the broader implications here for people trying to sue Disney if this argument actually works?
Right. So on both sides, it means that if the court decides that this is unconscionable and that arbitration is not required here, that it can go to a jury trial, then it could open up the floodgates and more people could be much more willing to sue, which is likely something that Disney has already considered. But then on the other hand, if this stays in place, then guess what? The rest of us will be forced into arbitration as we already are today, Morgan.
Unconscionable and yet could be potentially legally sound. Angela, thanks so much for breaking it all down. When we come back, an Olympic boxer now fighting a brand new battle in court. The Algerian gold medal winner, who became the subject of misinformation and transphobic attacks online, filing a legal claim, arguing she was harassed by cyberbullies. J.K. Rowling, Elon Musk, among those cited as examples. We'll bring you the details next. And we're back now with the latest on Algerian Olympic boxer Iman Khalif, the center of an international firestorm over her gender sparked by social media misinformation. The gold medalist filing a criminal complaint that names several high-profile figures, including Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling, who incorrectly claimed she was a man competing in women's events. Josh Letterman breaks it down.
We'll see Iman Khalif atop the podium. Tonight, Olympic gold medalist Iman Khalif taking legal action against alleged cyberbullies after weeks of attacks over her gender, fueled by misinformation online. The Algerian boxer filing a criminal complaint with Paris prosecutors to get to the bottom of the, quote, misogynistic, racist, and sexist campaign against Khalif, according to her lawyer. In a statement to Variety, her lawyer revealing both Elon Musk and Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling are among those mentioned in the complaint. French law enforcement officials confirming to NBC News they have launched an investigation at the request of the Paris prosecutor.
If a criminal court has jurisdiction over an individual for those types of allegations, it can be quite serious.
Khalif's gender was questioned inaccurately following a fight at the Paris Olympics with Italy's Angela Cabrini, who forfeited after taking a hard punch just 46 seconds into the fight. The quick surrender bringing to light allegations from the Russian-led International Boxing Association, which disqualified Khalif from a competition last year, citing a gender eligibility test. The association has never provided details. Rowling using incorrect pronouns, tweeting that Khalif was enjoying the distress of a woman he's just punched in the head and whose life's ambitions he's just shattered. Elon Musk retweeting a post about Khalif that said men don't belong in women's sports. Musk writing, absolutely. Neither Rowling nor Musk responded to our request for comment. Even former President Trump weighing in on Truth Social, saying he will keep men out of women's sports.
You have to look at whether they can actually pursue criminal action against somebody based on the jurisdiction of the case. It would be very surprising if there was any sort of criminal action taken against these people in France.
The International Olympic Committee defending Khalif's eligibility after her gold medal fight against China's Yang Lu.
Our decision is very clear. Women must be allowed to take part in women's competitions. And the two are women.
Khalif speaking out during the games, asking people to stop bullying athletes, saying it can destroy people and kill their thoughts, spirit, and mind. And Morgan, Khalif's attorney, Nabil Baudi, tells Variety that they filed this lawsuit with French authorities in a way that is open-ended, meaning it will be up to prosecutors to decide who actually falls within the parameters of the investigation. And the lawyer says that even though former President Trump wasn't specifically named in the complaint, he will almost certainly be part of the investigation. Morgan?
We'll be watching. Josh, thank you. Turning now to our international headlines with Top Stories Global Watch, starting with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida saying that he will step aside come next month. Now, Kishida was elected to a 3-year term as president of the Liberal Democratic Party. His term was due to end in September, and his presidency has been troubled by a series of corruption scandals. The key U.S. ally will elect a new leader come next month. A disturbing story out of New Zealand, where a charity now admits it unknowingly distributed candies containing potentially lethal levels of methamphetamine. The pineapple-flavored candies each contain about 3 grams of meth, up to 300 times the level someone might usually take, according to the organization that tested them. Authorities say that 3 people who consumed the candies were treated in the hospital, but fortunately later released. And in England, scientists are saying Stonehenge's massive central rock came from hundreds of miles away in Scotland, making it a discovery that only deepens that site's mystery. Now, the new study analyzed grains of rock within the ancient monument's altar stone that now determines the sandstone rock was likely transported more than 450 miles from present-day Scotland to southern England, significantly farther than any other stone at Stonehenge with known origins. Coming up next, an emotional soldier homecoming. You're going to love this one. One father surprising his kids. We'll show you the touching moment they realize Dad is finally back home. Stick around. Finally tonight, a special surprise. An Army father serving overseas with the Arizona National Guard, making the moment he's reunited with his 2 young daughters, one they'll never forget. This was the sound as the 1st Battalion of the Arizona National Guard's 158th Infantry Regiment finally returned home. Families gathering to greet loved ones in uniform they haven't seen in almost a year. But for Sergeant Christopher Fulton, returning home from his 3rd deployment.
1 in Iraq and 2 to the Middle East elsewhere.
The 2 people he can't wait to see
are not in this crowd.
I just want to see my babies. I'm so excited to see them. I'm excited to see their face, their smiles, and get those hugs from them. I miss those hugs.
Daughters Layla and Lana already at school in Gilbert, Arizona. Mom Jordan describing the challenges their families faced.
It's hard, you know, that drive away, you know, the drop off. It is challenging, but I just try to remind them that, like, what their dad is doing is important.
But with a little help from the school.
I'm so excited to see their little faces and see how much they've grown.
This Army dad hiding backstage as the students filed in for an assembly.
Gonna love this. They're gonna remember this for the rest of their lives. It's gonna be a core memory and something that they have.
The moment that curtain opened, absolutely unforgettable. Dad Christopher doing his best to soak up every second.
It's actually real now. There's no more video chats. I can actually touch them and see them. So I'm so excited right now. Oh, they mean the world to me. Like the best gift I ever had.
You just can't beat those hugs, can you? We do want to thank our partners at KPNX 12 in Phoenix for their help with that special story. And thanks so much for watching. Stay right here. More News Now is on the way.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.